Right, so behind me is our new house, or what exists of it so far. It's kind of a work in progress, and I want to show you around.
To get rid of that annoying Windows activation watermark, head on over to VIP SCD Key. Purchase a Windows 10 Pro OEM key for a fraction of the price of retail. Just use a secure payment method like PayPal, enter your product key into your PC settings window, and say bye-bye to the watermark. And be sure to use our offer code SKGS for a sweet discount.
Also want to take this as an opportunity to talk about some of the things we've learned along the way. Lisa and I designed this house from scratch, so it is fully custom, and my oh my, have there been some roadblocks. And don't worry, I'll be sure to discuss all of the costs we've incurred thus far and the costs we expect to incur in the future around this build. Like I said, I want this to be as transparent for all of you as possible. I don't want to hide anything. So this is the garage. We'll start here. It's an oversized 3-car. It's actually way bigger than I thought it was going to be. You could almost fit 4 cars in here. I don't know. Now up there actually is the only second story, if you want to call it that, in this house, and that is where my office will be. So we'll be filming videos in there in about 6 months' time. Also, it's super windy, I apologize. And here's the view from our front porch, again, slightly lifted over the garage, about 4 feet. So most of the house is gonna be about 4 feet above the front of our property, but it will be level with the back of the property over there. Our backyard is not very big. The big open living room / kitchen area. You've got a long hallway there with 4 bedrooms and 2 bathrooms. One of those bathrooms will lead out to the back. It'll be more like a pool bath. So if you, come in from swimming, you can enter in that way, rinse off real quick, and then you're good to go. I'm not sure what this is. I guess this is just what they use to fabricate a bunch of stuff. It's been here for a good while. That front room there is gonna be like an office / gym room. And then the wife really wanted a mud room. So mud room's gonna be here. Then you're gonna have a door straight down to the garage. And then if you go up these steps, which don't exist yet, you'll be able to get into my office upstairs. I haven't actually gone up there yet. They haven't totally framed it out, so I'll wait, but it's huge. It's like 3 times the size of what we're working with now. So you can come through here and you'll see this will be like the washer dryer room. And yes, this is like way bigger than she probably needs, whatever. This is gonna be a small half bath. So this will be the guest bathroom, toilet, and a sink will be in there. And then we've got the master bathroom. This is a large shower area, and then there's gonna be a standalone tub, and then a huge walk-in closet. It probably doesn't look that big on camera, but it's fairly large. I think it's like 17 feet long, which that's bizarre in and of itself. Separate room for the toilet. Yeah, we're gonna need that. And then, you're back into the laundry. So you can actually get to the laundry room from the master bath, which I think will be nice when you're doing laundry. Once again, sorry about the wind, I won't stay out here long. You can see this is the back of the house, a nice large porch. We're gonna have a little summer kitchen off to that side there. And then we're gonna put a nice long, narrow pool, I think, as long as we can fit it in the budget, right here, front and center over that rear porch. So, lots of windows, lots of natural lighting. The wife wanted lots of windows here, so I think it'll look good when it's done. For our first custom home, we didn't do too bad. This reminds me of like The Sims, just in slow motion. And I used to love playing The Sims, so Lisa and I both have a good eye, I think, for what looks good and what doesn't here in 2023. And I think, at the very least, we'd be able to get our money back if we sold it right away. I don't know. Who knows what the market's gonna do, but we don't intend, obviously, to sell it. We wanna live here for a very long time. Now, let's go ahead and talk some numbers, shall we? Because this is where it gets interesting. So this house I expected to cost us around $700,000. I never imagined paying any more than that. I never imagined living in a house that required any more money than that, frankly. I think that spending tens of millions of dollars on houses is just crazy. Even if you have the money for it, no one needs that much space. I'd much rather spend it on elaborate vacations, let's say, or I don't know, heck, even cars at that point. Like, I'd rather just buy nice cars than buy huge houses with rooms I'll never use. This house cost us $1.1 million. That includes the land, which we paid cash for, $100,000. Again, this is a little over half an acre, and it's surrounded by lakes on all sides. It's not lakefront property, technically, because there are properties across the street from us where the lake starts. And then we've also got a lake on the other side of this neighborhood. It's one big loop. It's very quiet out here because of that. You don't have tons of neighborhoods crammed in together. So I think it will age well in that regard. And the neighbors who are already here can attest to just how tranquil it is. The only real issue with where we're building is it's kind of far away from things. So you have that trade-off, right? You either spend a lot of money on the land and get it really close to downtown, wherever you want to be, or you spend very little money on a lot more land further out of the city. And you have to be okay, obviously, with commuting if you frequently commute to the city for work or whatever. I work out of the house, so I don't really care where we live. And the wife is okay with driving, 10, 20 minutes to get to the places she needs to get every day, especially if it means having more land and a bigger house. Now here's where things get interesting. The bank involved, and yes, a bank is involved because there's no way I could afford this out of pocket, as much as that would be pretty cool to be able to do. It's just not in the cards and probably won't ever be, and I'm totally fine with that. The bank at the time was offering a fairly competitive construction loan interest rate. Now, construction loans tend to be a bit pricier on the interest side of things than their mortgage counterparts because interest notes carry more implied risk. The lender, in this case the bank, knows that something might go wrong with the project midway through. Heck, maybe the builder just completely calls it quits halfway through. What if our builder just walked away right now? Do you think the bank wants this? They don't want it. They can't do anything with it. Well, they can sell it as a halfway finished project, but that, again, is just the bank trying to roll that risk over to someone else, and someone else is gonna catch on to that very quickly. That's gonna affect their bottom line. So they offset this by usually bumping the interest rate a bit more. Our construction loan rate is 4.9%, and that is pretty much unheard of in 2023. How we did that was, we actually set all this up a little over a year ago. It's taken over a year to get to this point. Welcome to custom building. Some of you remember a couple years ago, interest rates were the lowest they've perhaps ever really been. Some were locking in rates at 2.5, 3% for mortgages. That's insane. And good for them. If they timed it right, perfect. You're probably locked in and you don't want to let go of that because nowadays interest rates are like 8, 9, 10, 12, 15% or more. And that just is not cool. Now, I know the old timers are like, well, back in my day, we were paying 18 to 20% mortgages and blah, blah, blah. Well, yeah, your house also didn't cost on average, $300,000, $400,000. And the median home price in the US is like 50,000 times higher than what it was in 1980, okay? So forget the interest rates back then. The fact is, it doesn't scale the same way today. And the cost of a $250,000 home at 3% interest versus 8% interest, there's just such a huge spread there. It's pricing a lot of people out today. But we were fortunate enough to time the market when we did. Now, some of you might be thinking, well, that's just a construction note though. What about the mortgage? What about when the house is finished? What happens? Typically, one of two things happens. Either you have to reclose and the note that was the construction note dissolves, and then you have this new one that's the mortgage. Basically, you buy the house after you build the house, and you finance to build it, and then you finance it again to buy it. Well, in this case here, all that happens is the construction note simply modifies into a mortgage with the same lender that we used from the beginning. That means, here's the catch, that our interest rate doesn't change either. Typically, that's where banks get you, right? So you build a house, it takes 2 years. By then, interest rates have gone up 2 or 3%. Then you have to relock that interest rate in at that higher rate, and that's where you end up paying more to the bank. But our caveat is that 4.9% in the construction note has to become that 4.9% in the mortgage because of how the contract was set up. Do your due diligence and make sure that you shop for the best lender with the best rates and the best terms before agreeing to something this daunting. So when it's all said and done, say the beginning of 2024, when this house is finished and we move in and our construction loan modifies, we're looking at around $4,500, potentially $5,000 a month. I'd have to go back and look at the paperwork if you factor in that 4.9% interest rate. That's not bad. It's very high. I get that, I understand. But for a house like this and for what it cost and what it would have cost if we hadn't locked in that rate, we are saving thousands of dollars. So we did something right. Now, somewhere over there, a little hiccup. We had a turtle on our property, and this happened before, it happened before anything, actually. It was before any ground had broken. We were waiting on permits for over 3 months. Part of the reason why it took us this long to start building from the time we locked our rate. The turtle in question apparently is a protected species here in Florida, even though I can attest to there being literally millions of them here. Apparently they're endangered or protected or whatever the term is Florida wildlife uses, and because of that, we can't simply pick up the turtle and move it. It was actually in a burrow, and there's a risk that in the burrow there could be turtle eggs, and those turtle eggs are definitely protected. So we had to spend $10,000 out of pocket to move said turtle. Singular turtle. Yeah. A few other things that came up. Our builder let us know that drywall prices have gone up quite a bit. We definitely saved on the lumber because lumber was extremely expensive at one point. We were not building during that time, thankfully. And we had no real rush to build. You know, even if we had the permits, if this had come up, unless the bank was really pressuring us to get it done within a certain time frame, we probably would have waited a few months for that bubble to burst because yeah, all this lumber here, let's say it costs 40 grand. I'd have to get I'll break everything down in a separate video if you guys are interested in more of this stuff. But say all this lumber costs 40 grand, right? During the bubble, it would have cost $150,000 just in wood. I mean, it's insane. So yeah, a lot of costs are going up, and a risk to us is that if this house takes longer than we expect to finish, we become more exposed to further price hikes. One of our biggest expenditures is labor. Back in 2020, it wasn't as big a deal. Nowadays, it costs as much to pay people to install a roof as it does to actually buy the roofing materials. That is something we are having to balance every single day here. Again, I'd have to check our balance sheet. I'm fairly certain our roof cost us about $68,000 to engineer. So you have to get engineers to actually design the roof, the trusses themselves, all these things you see here. Yeah, those are all custom. So they were custom designed and custom fabricated, and then they're shipped out here. You gotta pay for shipping, and then you gotta pay to have all the trucks and cranes out here to actually install them. And then you've got the labor side of it. So both of those things cost about the same. I think it was like $68,000 for the entire roofing project, and then like $70,000 to have the roof actually finished. So that's labor to install, and then there you see they're putting up the boards over the trusses. I don't know what those are called, but I'm sure someone in the comments will let me know. And then you actually have to put the shingles on top of that, and our HOA requires that we have tile. So we've gone with a nice square kind of slate colored tile. It looks like a regular shingle, but it's definitely not as cheap. So costs, more costs, and then you've got furniture and flooring and cabinets and who knows what else to come. This, I'll level with you, has been the most financially stressed I've ever been in my life, like by a good margin. I stressed about money in the past, especially when I was just starting out on YouTube. I was even doubting whether or not I could justify YouTube full-time over what I wanted to do with my career and the degrees I got in school. I wasn't even sure if it was the right decision. Now I'm glad I stuck with it. I'm making much more now on YouTube than I ever would have doing what I would have done from school. But golly, this is a huge project and it's a lot of money. And so what I've been doing to try to calm my nerves is save. I've been saving as much as I reasonably can. I'm trying to keep business expenses up a bit on the company side of things, the company that runs the YouTube channel and a few other things we do on the side, just because I'm sort of kind of worried about taxes. But I mean, to have an $860,000 expense waiting for you and to kind of see it, progress, and like the closer you get to that, that's when you're going to be smacked with a huge debt. I don't like debt. I'm the one in our family who's largely in charge of the money, the finances. I look at the ins and outs. I see where our break even is, how much we need to save, how much we can safely spend. Thankfully, Lisa doesn't have to stress about that stuff. And thankfully, she doesn't have to stress so far about this. I don't want to share that stress with her. All I want for her to do is to just walk down aisles and pick things. That's my goal. So far, I've been able to give her concrete and some wood, but I think it's gonna get a lot messier from here financially. But again, it's my job to take care of that. That's what I agreed to do as the husband in this marriage. I know everyone has their different roles they agree to, or at least should agree to, before they lock into a marriage, but this was something I was willing to commit to. I wanted to be the breadwinner, and I wanted to take care of us financially. So far, so good, but things can turn on a dime, so I'm just got to take it in paces. I enjoy, as much as I hate the stress, I still enjoy projects like this. I like being able to put my hands on things that I've worked hard for, and this house is the epitome of that. So if you have any other questions you'd like to see answered in a future video, if we do those, leave those in the comments as well. Let me know what you guys think so far, and I'll catch you in the next one. My name's Greg. Thanks for learning with me.